Guys, welcome back to the show. And today's guest is a very powerful one. She came from a small town in North Dakota, played professional football for the WPFL, and is now a top 1% realtor in the Arizona market. Not only that, she's one of the most incredible and magnetic human beings you'll ever come into contact with. And I know from just listening to this episode, you guys are going to feel that too. I'm very lucky to call this person a friend. And today's guest is Jennifer Schumacher. So let's get into it. So we meet people in this life, and sometimes you really feel genuinely that you've known them for a very, very long time. And today's guest, I've only known for a little less than 2 years, but I feel like she's been a dear friend of mine for a long, long time. I also found out that her anniversary and my birth date are the same. So it made it a little bit more special, and we connected on that. But Jen, thank you so much for sitting down with me and doing this and taking time out of your crazy and very busy and productive schedule.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Anytime, my friend. And let's talk about that, because how we met, and this is something I want to dive right into, because I think it speaks to the kind of human you are, but it also is why you're so successful in business and continue to achieve. You are a very decisive person. I picked this up from just like within minutes of meeting you, and I'll tell you why. We met, on a panel discussion that we were at, and I shared that I was having this event to everyone. You didn't even ask me a question. You just walked right up to me like, I'm coming. I'm going to be there. And not only did you come, you came and you infected the event with so much positivity. Like everyone who met you loved you. And of course, you knew a lot of those people. Yeah. But I thought this is a really assertive and decisive person. I don't know if people tell you that, but how has that played into your business, or have you always been like this?
Yes, most definitely. But the reason why I say yes to these kinds of things is because when I met you, your vibe was absolutely incredible. And I am on a mission to surround myself with people who are awesome. I want to work with awesome people. I want to meet more awesome people. I want to build an amazing community. So there was no question in my mind when you said, hey, I'm doing this event, that I was going to go. In terms of being decisive, I have been like that pretty much from junior high, I guess you could say. I had to make hard decisions, and my family couldn't help me a lot, and I had to figure out how to be in the world, right? I grew up in a trailer park, and I knew, even though nobody in my family went to college, that I wanted to get out and do something. So I had big dreams for myself. So there was no option of should I do this or this? It was make decisions and go and just do the things that I knew were going to get me to the next level.
And you bet on yourself, right?
Absolutely.
You have, and was this strong belief that you have in yourself to get things done and to achieve, because you're very much a high achiever. Has that always been with you, or was there a moment or a time that you can recall when it kind of switched over to that?
I don't recall a specific moment in time, but I just remember very young, at a young age, that I wanted to get out of North Dakota, right? I had these big dreams. Like my brother and I would dream about, having a BMW and a Rolex and living in a mansion and all of these things, right? But I didn't really necessarily know how to get there. I just knew that that's where I wanted to go. So I've always just been the person to okay, what can I do right now, this moment, to get me to the next level? And whatever that was is a door that I would take and open and go through. So I definitely have to credit my mom for helping me believe that I could do anything. I mean, she said, get out of North Dakota, travel, go do things, right?
So she supported you.
100%. Right. And I had this very creative mind. I was an artist when I was a young kid. So I feel like because I had the dreams, mm-hmm. right, and a good work ethic, I worked on the family farm in the summer, which is no easy feat.
Yeah.
Getting up at 3:00 in the morning, walking to go get the cows and doing all that stuff, right? So I knew that I had to work hard. And so it's just been easy for me to just make decisions and go.
And speaking of go, in the spirit of you just being, a badass out there and just always doing something, you played professional football. You played in the WPFL.
I did.
And maybe a lot of people don't know that about you, but anyone who sees you knows this person was definitely an athlete, but a professional athlete, much less. Love of football, competitive edge, and how that's played into your professional life.
Sure. I love football. I've been a football fan, go 49ers forever since the first time that I saw the 49ers in action.
Yeah.
But, playing football was never an option when I was a kid in high school and, college even, right? But when I saw the opportunity to try out for the WPFL, I was like, this is amazing. So at the time I was living in Greeley, Colorado, which is where I went to college, but I drove down to Denver and there was 500 women trying out. I was like, this is so interesting, right? But made the team and it was absolutely incredible. We were undefeated, went to the Super Bowl, but it was fantastic. But I think having the competitive edge has definitely helped me in my life. From starting with my brother when I was super competitive because we always wanted to like be better than each other. Although he can run faster than me. But I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like everyone has a competitiveness in them. They just have to find it and move toward that direction. But I feel like for me, because I am so competitive and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, that has helped me like drive my career in anything that I've chosen to do.
You've channeled it, right? That competitive spirit combined with this need to do things at a real high level. And you put the two together and that's where, you get this unstoppable energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go.
I mean, how else? Let's fucking go. Right. How else does anybody become a professional athlete? Right. Like you played professional football. That's amazing. I'm not friends with any professional football players until I met you. Now I can actually say I know one,
funny.
Which is great. You talked about barriers and overcoming and breaking like some challenges, right? As I think you said middle school and where you came from growing up in a trailer park. Like a lot of people would see that and say, well, biography looks like this, destiny, maybe it's not going to really amount. You obviously defied a lot of that, mainly because of grit and determination and because you're a big dreamer and you took action. But talk to me about some of those struggles and when things were really tough and how you got through it, because there's somebody listening to this that maybe is in a similar spot. Sure. And I want them to know that whatever life they want is on the other side of some really tough moves and challenges that they can get through, but it is possible.
For sure, 100%. And I would say I did not get here because I did it by myself. When I had, in junior high, I had amazing teachers that would saw the potential in me and I would grab their hand and let them lead me. And so I think a lot of times people think, I have to do this by myself, but really you have to lean into the people that are there to help you because there's people all around that are willing to be like, hey kid, I got you. Like, let's go. And at that moment in time, you have to make a decision. Am I going to do this or am I going to, make excuses for my life and try to figure it out that way? But 100%, there's people throughout every chapter of my life that have literally sat me down and say, I see your potential. Here's an opportunity. And I took it. So I think really leaning into the people that are there to lift you up is critical if you want to do anything in this life.
I think a lot of us have, those with children, you got children, like people like middle school and high school is such a tough time.
It is.
I mean, forget about like, even just going through it at a baseline. But if you don't fit like a certain societal norm, right? Or it's not the easiest world to like fit into, right? For anybody, I feel like it's just getting harder and harder. Was there times during like your adolescence when you felt like, God, like or did you kind of always know where Jen was and you didn't really care about the outside world? Or did you ever feel that pressure of like, I don't conform, or like, talk to me about that a bit?
Oh, 100%. No, yes. So I was embarrassed of my life, right? My mom would go to the store with food stamps. We'd go grocery shopping. And as soon as it was time to pay, I would hightail it to the car because I didn't want anyone to see, right? And then my friends, I had wealthy friends. One of my friends had a swimming pool at her house. So I was always embarrassed and like, what are people thinking of me? Obviously I didn't have the coolest Nikes ever until I got a job and could buy my own. But, I definitely like the outside world affected me for sure. But because I had such a good support system and people who could show me a different way, I believed that I could one day have the things that they had and the things that I was seeing. But it was a struggle for sure because I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like even if I did have the Nikes and the shoes, I still wasn't like a part of a better life. But it was really the people who just took my hand and said, let's go, kid.
earlier you said something to me about the world, the state of the world. And we were talking about, you said actually the world now is at such odds that they'd rather punch than hug.
Yeah.
And you are a hugger.
I know.
You lead with that, but it's, I think, why you're so magnetic, and it's why you have a beautiful family, why you've created the life that you've created for yourself, why you have such incredible friends and people that are proud to call you friends, including yours truly. But in business, this is so big. And I noticed this about you. You really care. You will go out of your way if a friend's coming into town, not even a client, and take time out of your family life and say, I'll pick you up. I'll meet you for dinner, because relationships are so key to you. You want to hug, right?
Yeah.
And it's who you are. But I think more people need to hear why that is the way, as opposed to what is the conventional way right now, sadly, and why it'll make you a better human. But ultimately, it's going to help you in business too.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, I was in the fitness industry for 21 years prior to real estate, and I was very successful in every track that I took there. But it was 100% not because I'm amazing and I'm so smart and I can do great things, right? It was because of the relationships I had with people.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of what business you are in, if you are not focusing on relationships, the money will stop, right?
That's it.
So if we're focusing on the dollar, you're going to be focusing on the wrong things. So I personally want to hang out with as many awesome humans as I can. I want all the people around me to be really fantastic. So that means I need to do what they told us in kindergarten, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. And I feel like with the heaviness of the world right now, it's even more critical for us to go above and beyond to make sure that people are okay and just be a good human.
Yeah.
You have to do it. It's an action. You can't just think it. And so I think it's critical every day so I call it my recalibration, because we don't all just wake up awesome, right? There's things we have to do, right?
Yeah.
I am grateful every morning to see the sunrise, but I also have to take action and really focus my thoughts on the day, because things happen in the middle of the day. The world is heavy, right? You hear all of this nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
And so I call it recalibration. So if something affects me in a heavy way, I literally stop and I think of 3 things I'm grateful for. And usually that'll get me right back to, this world is fantastic, right? I want to help this person. I want to help you be better, whatever it is. If I can help you or connect you to somebody else to do awesome things, I want to do that for you, right? Because if I help you do awesome things, you're going to help somebody else, and everyone's just going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic. But it takes action. And I literally don't ever focus on the dollar in anything that I do. It's all about the person. That's why when I met you, right, I just felt your vibe. You had this great energy. I'm like, I want to be around this guy. So when you said, hey, I'm doing this event, I'm like, I'm there. No problem. So I think if people go back to truly focusing on a relationship and surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you up. And remember, if you have people around you lifting you up, you also have to do the lifting too.
Yeah.
Right. So we just have to do those things. And I personally believe if you do that, you'll have an awesome vibe and you'll have an awesome life, regardless of all the things around you.
Right. And I love that, because I'm sure you feel the same way, because I know we're kind of close in age, that the older I've gotten, I felt like I'm kind of getting a lot more narrow with who I keep really close. I mean, you're friends,
Yes.
but that tribe of people with all those similarities, like there's a lot of alignment there and consistency, and it's also kind of narrow. You know? And you're one of those people, like in my life, but I love that you live this way and how it shows up in business. Then it's not about the transaction of the dollars. It's about the human being first and foremost, and everything else will come second. You have an incredible, as part of this whole human first approach to everything that you do, and being always in a place of sincerity, you have an amazing consumer experience that you provide for people. And I think this is a big pillar of your business. And many of our listeners are in business. Many of them are in the similar industries to what you and I are in, right? Under the real estate umbrella, or they serve others, or they advise. Talk to me about, was there ever a time in which you revamped that consumer experience? Like, we're going to fine tune this thing, or you're always tweaking it? Or did it just kind of naturally roll out to where everybody feels this red carpet experience with you?
Well, I would have to say this goes back to when I was 23 years old. I was working for the downtown YMCA and managing a bunch of people. And my boss at the time, Mike Estera, who's one of the most incredible humans on the planet, he's so positive, and I would see the way he affected change and business relationships by being such a positive person. And being around him, you just feel like incredible, right? And so I made it a mission to change everything I do to give people an experience, because it doesn't matter what we're doing, people remember how you made them feel, right? And so I always am like, oh, let's create this experience, whether it's a client event. And if something happens and it needs to be tweaked to make it better, we'll do that. But I feel like, again, it goes back to the relationship piece, right? If you are attending, you're at your event or your experience with your clients, right? You have to just really be mindful of every step. And if there is something to tweak, you should absolutely do it, because again, the relationship and the experience and how you make somebody feel or introduce them to whatever you're doing, it all comes back to you.
Totally.
Right? They always remember that. And They're going to remember you for whatever that was. And it doesn't matter if I'm selling fitness equipment or I own a gym or I'm selling real estate. People always remember that I helped them in whatever capacity it was. And you just build an awesome tribe and business just comes.
It just comes, right?
Yes.
It definitely does. Now, when we talk about like challenging markets, like the one we're kind of in now, you and I were talking offline before we started recording it, that it's kind of a strange time, not just because of what's going on in the exterior, but it's affected the psychology of the people that you and I interact with on a daily basis. Some people feel frozen. They're completely fear-struck. Some see opportunity. How do you, as someone who's, again, she's in the top 1% of her market of what she does, so obviously very, very high achiever, how do you push through tough markets and tough environments? Are there certain fundamentals that you revert back to? Do you focus a different way? Do you stick to whatever's worked for you because it's just gotten you this far? Talk to me about that.
No, well, I think right now, especially, I personally believe overcommunication is impossible. So it's literally having a very raw, candid conversation with somebody and just explaining to them like the facts, right? The whole nation has, issues with people buying and selling at the moment, right? But what can we do to alleviate that stress? Because, it is what it is. Here we are. Here's the facts. But, we can change our strategy. And I feel like when you have a candid conversation with your clients, I have to communicate more times a week than I typically would. But you just have to present them the facts, because there's a ton of nonsense happening that they're seeing all the time, and just communicating to them, what's happening and how we can change our strategy, and just to sit tight and be patient. Right. And so, communication is critical, especially right now, for sure.
Over communicating, especially during more challenging times. Right. And that's something I think people take for granted, because they're just so focused on the transaction and the market's frozen. And what do I need to do to unlock a deal because I need to make money because I have obligations? And then you just kind of forget like one of those basic human needs, or what, is part of the hierarchy of how a deal gets done, which is communication.
For sure.
Right there. So we got to go back to it.
Yes. And I think also in this moment in time too, in a conversation, body language is 58% of the message. So I feel like having these conversations in person also shows them that you care, right?
Right.
So I think they just want to know that you have their back and the whole world isn't going to go down in a ball of flames.
Okay.
So I think the more in-person conversations you can have is critical as well.
And speaking of people that know you have their back, you put on, because community is a big deal to you. You created this incredible community, which is for women only. And I'm trying to find ways to crack into it. I've thought about shaving my legs, but I can just wear pants. I'm just going to get a wig and make sure I shave like today. I'm going to sneak in there and I'm going to wink at you, and you're just going to ignore me. You're going to look the other way. So I'm going to be in this thing. You do a vision board event, which has a cult-like following. For those that follow you and know you on social media, like women from all over the country come to this thing. They are raving about it. They're posting content from the day they get up to packing their suitcase. They are so excited. It's like Disneyland for adults. Like they're so hell-bent on this and excited and looking forward to it. How did you start this community, and why has the importance of giving and pouring into others and creating community? Because, some people would say like, you're so busy. How do you have time for something like this? You're not going to make money off that. You're not going to meet clients. These are all your industry colleagues, some of whom you compete against maybe in your market, but you don't see it that way. Again, people first.
Right. Well, everything I do, it's all about collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Would I love to have 14,000 listings in Arizona, in Scottsdale? Sure, but I can't do that, right? You have to be realistic. So for me, it's just about inviting amazing women together that will be happy to collaborate with each other. And some of them are from the same markets, and that's okay. Because again, having amazing options for your clients is great. I mean, I would love to send my client 3 different amazing people to choose from and say, they're all fantastic, right? Pick one. But in terms of the community events, I go back to the fitness industry when I used to do consulting and also membership sales, right? It's like, how do you get people into the gym? And then once they're in there, they need to be there for more than just a workout. They need a community, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got into real estate in 2015 and I moved to Arizona, not knowing one human, I was like, how am I going to sell real estate, right? People don't know me. But I started doing small events with my neighbors, with my favorite barista at my favorite coffee shop. And I had 2 clients at the time. And then it just grew into this fantastic community. And they're like, hey, can I bring so-and-so? I was like, yes, absolutely. So then I started doing monthly client events. And then in 2023 is when I started bringing agents, because I started getting into the Sotheby's network. And it was actually Katie Durkin's idea to invite agents. And it's just an amazing experience. And it's all with women who truly want to lift each other up. And again, that is how I've been successful in my life, is surrounding myself with people who not only want to lift me up, but want to lift other people up. And so if you don't have a community, life is pretty sad and lonely.
It is.
Right? Like, we have to build a community. And I would rather build a community that I want, which is good vibes. I don't care how much real estate you sell. I don't care about any of that. I just want you to be a good human.
I think I said that there are 3 counterpunches to all the disruption, right? We have so much disruption that's facing us, like Rocket buying Redfin and trying to take over literally search to close of an entire real estate transaction. That's a big threat to both of our industries. The NAR lawsuit, commission reforms, like there's constant disruption all the time, but you have to pivot. You have to be adaptable. And one of those, I feel like, pieces of footwork, to use a martial arts analogy of like pivoting and using footwork, is community. Like, if you have community and you're part of something and you are sharing the experience and the struggles and the triumphs with other people who get you, it just lifts you and you can combat against almost anything because you never feel alone. You feel like you're part of something, you're part of a tribe. Yeah. And I don't know, there's great power in it, right? That transfer of energy. So I'm sure that's a big part of your community.
It's huge. Everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yes.
And if I have the opportunity to bring more people in to create this awesome community, then that's great, right? Because they're also building their communities. I want people to do awesome things outside of me. And so if I can make those connections, awesome. Like, right. I am super grateful when I close my eyes at night. So, community is everything. It's, whether it's your small, narrow community that you have, or you don't want, you're afraid to be in like big rooms doing, big things. But I think, at the end of the day, community matters. And those are the people that you lean into in tough times, right?
Yep.
You need those people to fall back and say, you guys, I am just spent. I'm burned right now.
Yeah.
They're the ones that lift you up and remind you who you are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we need that reminder.
We do from time to time.
It's like a big hug. It's great.
It's a big hug. You're a hugger. I always have to remember, it always comes back to that Jen loves to hug. Impact is big for you, clearly, because you want to lift people up. It's not about just business. Obviously, you have an impact on those that you help with this dream of home ownership or diversifying their income through real estate, and then also lifting others within the industry around. A big part of having prolonged impact, because you're not a transactionalist. Like, you're literally leaving every relationship, every dynamic better than where you found it, right? And that's a gift. And it's a gift for all of us to get to come into contact with you. But a big part of your impact is making sure that you can do this for a long time. You and I have talked a lot about health and lifestyle, and you have this goal, in which I have no doubt I wouldn't bet against you. If there's one human on this planet, and I'm a gambling guy, I don't bet against, it's Jen Schumacher. She wants to live to 120. Yeah. Now imagine the impact she's had up to her life up to date. She's not even halfway to her goal. She's going to change so much. Talk to me about this hyper awareness and focus on health and wellness and just lifestyle, and why it's important. And it's so easy for some of us to not, pay attention to, but how it's like affecting you in business. I feel like that kind of obsessive focus on it in a good way as part of your perfectionism and all that. Like it filters it, like it's all synonymous with who you are as a professional too. But talk to me about that.
Well, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
That's it.
I can't walk upstairs. I can't, hike. I can't do all the things. Also, I'm in a very emotional business,
Yes.
right? And so if I'm not taking care of my own physical body and my mental health, I can't help other people navigate through that process. So to me, my health is the number one thing. It is so important. And, I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I'm not an athlete. I said, listen, we have bodies. We're an athlete, right? Nike says that to us, but you have to move your body every day and you have to make time for yourself to be healthy, because if you're not, you can't even enjoy the successes in this life, right? And I want to be the person climbing the mountains when I'm 100. I want to put my overhead suitcase in the, airplane when I'm 110. I just love life. I want to absorb every moment that I can. And the only way I can do that is if I'm healthy, both physically and mentally. And so, the things that you are the best at in this life are the things you make a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always encourage every single person to put their health first. Right?
Beautiful.
It's critical.
It's too important. It's everything, right?
Yes.
And it's also often the most overlooked thing. And Jen, like people look at you and they think, God, like everything she touches must turn to gold. Like she's so good at this. She's great with people. She's successful in business. She's a 1%er in her market. She's got a beautiful family. She's created all this stuff. I have no idea, obviously, what all has gone into that. Is there a moment, or was there a moment like in your youth, adolescence history, somewhere, maybe it was more recent, that is something that you went through that was so difficult or challenging, and you still to this day draw strength or inspiration because you got through that, and therefore whatever is in front of you is not a big deal, and you'll just continue to reach?
I think just remembering where I came from, because, again, I was the only person in my friend group, right, that lived in a trailer house. We just didn't have anything. My parents couldn't, afford the things that everybody else had. And, when you go through being the kid who's embarrassed and, you don't have the confidence, right? You just take that with you. And I don't ever blame my parents for any of that stuff, right? But just knowing where I came from and being grateful for where I came from, right? Like even in the toughest, darkest times, you got to find the light. And so, life is not awesome, and, there's not rainbows every morning you wake up, but I knew that I got myself to where I am now because remembering where I came from, and I don't want to go back there. And so I think having that in my mind constantly, and also focusing on the gratitude. I mean, truly, I'm so grateful. Sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming in my life, but again, it's because I take action every day. It's important to me. All the things that I'm doing, which physically and mentally I have to do every day. Yeah.
And you do that. And it's why you're at where you're at, is because you're decisive and you're always creating impact. I don't ask this of every single guest as we wind this up, but definitely I feel I want to hear your answer on this. So I'm going to ask this question to you, and there's no right or wrong answer for you, but I will pose to guests that at your funeral, when you were 120, maybe 121, maybe it goes to 130, right? At your funeral, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, other people that know you, I'll be there, right? Because I'm living a long time too.
Yeah.
If there's one word that you want everyone at that funeral or at that ceremony or service that you would say as you're laid to rest, that like, I want to make sure that the world remembers me by this one word. Do you have an idea of what that word would be?
I think I would want people to know that I cared about them. Like she cared.
She cared.
And it wasn't just, I cared. I cared to help them in some capacity in their life.
That's beautiful. And I would say that's 100% you. That feels like right. You do care. You genuinely care. You know what? And I've talked about this on previous episodes, and I talk about it in keynotes when I speak on stages. The GAS method. GAS stands for give a shit. You genuinely give a shit. You genuinely give a shit about everyone and the people around you. Like you care deeply. Sometimes even if it detracts from other things. but you just like pour into everyone that's around you. And it's a gift for literally everyone that comes into contact with you, because it's not felt by many people. You don't we don't see this in a lot of people. It's almost, I don't know, it's of another world sometimes. It's a different kind of human, and you are 100% that, Jen. Like, so she cared.
Thank you.
Just caring. Yeah, that's the word that we would all, and everyone will remember that for sure. LFG energy. This is the last question I ask every guest. A different meaning for everyone. Again, no right or wrong answer. What is LFG energy, especially in the spirit of what you and I have talked about today? Beating the odds, pushing through tough times, being resilient, not giving a fuck, burning the boats, whatever it is. What does LFG energy mean to you?
Let's fucking go. Like, take action.
Yes.
Do the things, right? No matter what that is, right? If it's your health, if it's your relationship, like, you have to take action. You have to go. You can't just sit in a chair and think about how awesome your life would be. You have to take action. And the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. But you have to take action. You have to do the things. You have to get up and make your list and do them, right? Mm-hmm. Excuses don't get you anywhere. You have to do it. You have to be a doer.
Beautiful. And that is the absolute perfect way to end this, because like I said, we started talking about how decisive of a person you are. And you don't all back. You're quicker to say yes than to say maybe. And you rarely say no, it seems like. But yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's a good trait. It's a really good trait. As long as your family's good with it, because it always comes at the expense of something else. But Jen, I so appreciate you. I'm really lucky to call you a friend. Genuinely. I mean that wholeheartedly. And I just feel, really blessed that we cross paths in this life, and that I can continue to be inspired by you, just like so many other people. I love seeing everything that you stand for and everything you build. I'm probably one of your biggest fans, and I'm going to find a way to get into that vision board meeting. And again, just wink at me and you'll just you'll know me in disguise, but it's going to fool everyone else. It won't fool you, but it's going to fool everyone else. Just please look the other way, because I want to be part of this.
Oh, you're hilarious.
Okay.
I love you so much.
Love you too, friend.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for being on with me.
Thanks.